This is probably gonna come as a shocker to most of you, but I don't have that much manga. Physical manga. I mean, clearly we can see I made a mistake with buying Naruto years ago, and I don't want to get into that. With that reason, and me being a total cheapskate, I tend to read manga online. I mean, with some of them, you kinda have to. But recently, I got a few new books to my collection. One's unrelated to this video, but also kind of. But that new edition being the Pokemon Adventures manga 5 through 7. But as for 1 through 4, I already had those books when I was younger, and I'm sure many of you also have. If not, I'm sure you've seen them at a Barney's or No Place, a bookstore, maybe your own school. The first 3 issues follows Red going on an adventure through Pellet Town, sort of how you imagine a book about Gen 1 would go. You got your rival, you got Green, which is a kind of a slutty girl who steals Pokemon. Oak, Bill, you got them all. And he meets people and Pokemon along the way to become the champion. It's pretty basic, the writing isn't too extreme because it is for kids. But I loved reading this when I was younger. And hey, I was young and I did not like to read, and this was just a fun read, so that speaks miles. But one of my favorite parts, hands down, has to be the art style. Seeing Pokemon and characters and just the general atmosphere in a different tone than, let's say, the anime, the game, is just really refreshing. Also, this looks cool, dog! As for Yellow, Yellow also goes on a different story, but I'm not really going to talk about Yellow in this video. Yellow has important elements that I'm going to talk about with Red, but Yellow isn't as easy to get, or at least in America, compared to Red. Though there is a lot of Pokemon manga books. You got the ones based off the trading card game, the anime, the movies, and those are awful. But aside from the fact that a lot of these manga are relatively new, they're mostly kid-friendly.
Wow, Apandah, a manga about Pokemon that's kid-friendly? Who would have thought? Wow.
Shut up, I'm getting there. Before I start directly talking about the manga itself, let's talk about Japanese culture. Everyone in Japan is really polite, but the media is an entirely different story. It's crazy, uncensored, and it's not like American. I mean, if you didn't know this, you're pretty goddamn stupid. Aside from other Pokemon Japanese-related things, the manga is no exception. Bigger tits and ass, lewd, gore, the best panel in the entire world, it's all here. But we all know you'd never see that sort of thing in anywhere besides Japan. Because not to get too political, but everything's too fucking censored. Like, I'm honestly lucky if YouTube doesn't censor my own videos in 2 years, and that thought's scary. You can get some of these Pokemon manga books that I reference in America, though they're not that easy to get at all. But even then, they've been censored. The boobs have shrinked, there's no swears, they get rid of frames. And because of the image Pokemon has in America, they're changing it overall, so even in Japan, things aren't as crazy as they used to be. But during 1997 to 2001, 1 to 5 years later after Pokemon Green, the first Pokemon game was released, the Pokemon Adventures manga from generations 1 to 2 finally came out. We got that crazy Japanese, I don't give a fuck what you think if this isn't kid-friendly or not style. Now, I don't mean this isn't someone getting head from a jinx, but it's something you wouldn't see today. In this video, I've been just saying how crazy and different this Pokemon manga book is, but I'm actually going to show you some examples. First, entire cities get destroyed and people actually die. Like, these people aren't reborn through some Pokemon magic, they're dead. Green hides Pokeballs where her tits are. That's kind of self-explanatory. And there's this. But one of the most notable things about the manga are the fight scenes. Like, look at this. This looks like it was literally ripped out from a creepypasta. You can see its guts, its eyes, its ribcage. Giovanni freezes this Magmar and it crumbles into pieces. Arbok literally gets cut in half and you can see its bones and its organs. Man, they really do not like Arbok. But I bring this all up for a reason. These books, and just in general, Pokemon at the time was more graphic, less censored, not afraid to do things. And this was in the Pokemon cards, the anime, even the games. But the anime episodes are never aired. The Pokemon cards are really hard to get, and the games have been altered. And most, if not all, these things are relative to Japan. But the one thing that wasn't for people outside of Japan was this manga collection. Because for us and everywhere but Japan, it's rare to get something like this. Because for most people, unless if they're diehard fans, you wouldn't see any of this. But anyone outside of Japan could easily get this through a bookstore or a library. It's like a time capsule of what Pokemon could have been, but isn't. And it's not even Pokemon's fault. They had to change. The world's becoming more censored and everybody's getting so piss-ass over everything. Because people like to get offended and they need something to worry about. They get mad over things like this. Like, stop getting so fucking offended. You're the reason why everything's so boring nowadays. The only word I can really describe people like this is just pathetic. And if you're someone that gets offended over everything, lighten the fuck up. People like you are the sole reason why they got rid of Brock and they gave us fucking Tracy. Just because they didn't want to offend anyone. Look at that image on America. Isn't that kinda sad? I'm sorry, I just got really off topic. I went full Ben Shapiro, but back to the Pokemon manga. If you showed these books to a kid today, they'd probably be really surprised because you'd never see this sort of thing. Especially anywhere aside from Japan. This is why I treasure and adore these books so much. I mean, even the newer versions of the Adventures manga changed. The art style changed to more like the anime. Everything's more serious. It changed along with the Pokemon Company. So just like Unknown, these are ancient scriptures from the past that we will probably never see something the likes of which ever again. Like, imagine having violence, guns, fucking a Lopunny, and to think the closest we got to this were these books. This is a video I was pretty passionate about if you couldn't tell. I've always been quite the huge fan of Pokemon and I don't show signs of stopping. It's something that was greatly a part of my childhood and I guess I just can't let it go. I really appreciate it if you watch for this long. This isn't my normal type of video, so let me know if you like it in the comments. Thank you for watching. See ya.
hungry as shit, yo. The fuck is this? I got the wrong sandwich. I don't want that shit.